Welcome to the Explainer. So, have you ever wondered about the hidden mechanics of modern dating? Well, today we are unpacking a highly specific and honestly pretty fascinating school of dating psychology. The source material we're looking at today promises a framework outlining 5 specific signs of attraction. The whole goal? To help men stop wasting time and finally decode those tricky behavioral signals. Remember, we're just impartially breaking down exactly what this source outlines and how this specific methodology views human interaction. Here's the roadmap of the 5 steps we'll be uncovering today. First up, time and priority. Second, touch and emotional safety. Third, social media and reputation. Fourth, a concept they call fake submission. And finally, communication and strategic mystery. Okay, let's dive into this and look at the very first concept. Sign number 1. Time and priority, the ultimate metric. According to our source, a woman's attraction is entirely dictated by one massive factor: how she manages her time around you. Think about the contrast here. On one hand, you have a woman constantly making excuses to reschedule. On the other, one who actively clears her calendar, maybe even canceling existing plans, literally just to see you. The core argument here is that a highly attracted woman is never going to leave you with the burden of constantly shifting schedules. To explain exactly why this happens, the material uses a really interesting analogy called mental files. The idea is that women subconsciously categorize men into different priority levels, basically sorting them into these mental files. If she places you in a high priority file, her absolute availability skyrockets. Like in that top file, she will always be available to you. But if you get slotted into a lower file, well, that's when you get hit with those constant excuses. So the big takeaway for this step is that in this framework, time is literally the ultimate measuring unit of attraction. Moving right along to sign number 2, touch and emotional safety. Let's talk about the indirect signals. So, the source argues that genuine attraction actually manifests first through incredibly specific, indirect physical contact. We're talking about those little things, pretending to remove a piece of lint from your clothing, lightly tapping your arm when you share a laugh, or maybe grabbing your arm when crossing the street like she's seeking protection. Now, there is a very clear distinction made here. This gentle, indirect touch is entirely different from disrespectful hitting or slapping during an argument. The framework explicitly states that kind of behavior should absolutely never be tolerated. Which brings us to a core philosophy of this specific dating psychology. The text makes a pretty bold assertion, stating, quote, "Safety always comes from the man." The suggestion here is that women are historically and evolutionarily programmed to seek safety. And within this specific framework, this feeling of safety is instantly destroyed when men show too much emotion, or what the creator actually terms feminine energy. They argue that women lose attraction when men focus too heavily on their own emotional vulnerabilities. So you might be wondering, how exactly does a man provide this safety then? Well, the material sets up a classic contrast. When a woman is upset, maybe it's about a coworker, a friend, or family, the natural male instinct is to act as a mechanic. You want to jump in and find a solution. However, the source claims the female need in that moment is actually just to find a listener. In fact, trying to fix the problem is presented as a major, major mistake if you're trying to build attraction. Instead of grabbing your toolbox to fix it, this methodology offers a precise 3-step approach for acting as a pure provider of emotional safety. Step 1, listen actively without interrupting. Just hear her out. Step 2, let her vent her feelings completely, really allowing her to empty her heart. And step 3, provide physical comfort. We're talking a hug or a kiss on the forehead for a few seconds. According to the text, this highly specific response is exactly what creates that deep emotional safety women are looking for. All right, that brings us to sign number 3, social media and reputation. It's all about managing the image. The source claims that a high level of attraction profoundly alters a woman's digital footprint. To really understand this, we have to look at what they call the sexual market. This is described, impartially speaking, as the competitive environment that's super visible on social media, the place where attention, likes, and validation are actively exchanged between genders. The logic here is that when a woman is truly, genuinely attracted to you, she will actively remove herself from this market. She'll stop posting heavily to avoid outside attention and validation. Why? Specifically so she doesn't endanger her new relationship with you. And this ties directly into what we can call the reputation shield. The argument here is that there's a fundamental difference in what the genders seek. It asserts that while women seek experienced men, men actually seek a lack of past experiences in women. Because of this dynamic, the source claims women deeply, deeply value their reputation and will fiercely protect it. So they'll intentionally distance themselves from social media to appear as pure, ideal future partners. They're essentially projecting an image of innocence to secure a man's commitment. Let's move on to sign number 4, the concept of fake submission and adapting to expectations. This right here represents a really fascinating behavioral shift. The source argues that when highly attracted, a woman will allegedly deploy specific, tactical behaviors to align with what she thinks you want. We're talking about things like asking for your specific opinion on her clothing choices, or intentionally matching your preferred style, like dressing more conservatively if she knows for a fact that's what you value in a partner. She might even proactively call just to report her location to you. All of this is presented as a deliberate strategy to fit the exact image you have in your mind of the ideal partner. In fact, the text summarizes this behavior with a really striking statement. It describes it as literally canceling her personality completely to match what you want. Now, I know that is a super strong claim, but within this framework, this mirroring isn't viewed as deceitful or manipulative at all. Rather, it's seen as the ultimate sign of high attraction. She is bending her own preferences to perfectly secure the relationship. And finally, we arrive at sign number 5, communication and strategic mystery, the art of distance. Here is where constant communication becomes downright dangerous, according to the source. Dropping everything to text back instantly? Well, that totally destroys your sense of mystery. The argument posits that giving a glut of free attention creates a sort of attention indigestion. When you do this, the woman will execute what the text calls a strategic withdrawal. Basically, she will suddenly pull back and become cold, all because the challenge and the mystery have been completely eliminated. To combat this, the framework actually offers a highly specific tactic. Picture this. You're out on a date. Step 1, your phone rings or you get a text message. Step 2, you, the man, deliberately ignore it right in front of her. Step 3, this supposedly programs her subconscious. By ignoring the phone, she subconsciously perceives that your time is highly valuable, that you are genuinely busy, and that your attention is scarce. The entire goal here is to practically demonstrate that your attention is a very expensive commodity. This entire dynamic is actually summed up with a pretty striking analogy straight from the source text. It says, the woman is like a cat. If you give her too much attention, she attacks or runs away. If you remove attention, she circles back. Honestly, that quote perfectly encapsulates how this specific methodology views modern dating dynamics. The idea that projecting a high value requires a very calculated, strategic withdrawal of attention. So, we've covered a very specific tactical framework today. We've looked at time, emotional safety, reputation, mirroring, and mystery. As we wrap up, I want to leave you with this final question to really ponder. Does treating your availability as an expensive commodity actually create genuine, lasting attraction, or does it merely create a temporary illusion of value? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep exploring the mechanics behind the concepts that shape our world. Catch you next time.